Hello everyone. Hello lovely Vilnius that I'm missing so much, but we'll do it today in a virtual format and make most of it as we can. My topic today is circular design, thinking circularly, and about more sustainable ways and what can we as designers do to make that really happen. So Think Circular is my presentation, and this is how it goes. First of all, let me introduce myself. My name is Mikkin from Brand Manual here in Tallinn, but also in Maastricht, Netherlands. It's a service design company, and I will introduce you to what we're doing in a short while. There are quite a few packages in my history. Classical ones, more modern ones. As you can see, a lot of beers in my cupboard, but yeah, not just beers that I had been working on. It has been Kalev, the chocolate factory, some smaller bakeries, and some industrial clients like Wendre, the pillow maker. But this is not my focus today. Today I'm a service designer, and as a service designer, my colleagues' focus is about bringing together 2 points of view. So on one hand, in upper left corner, you can see a producer, a manufacturer, who sits in his corner office and looks at the world below there and all the consumers and users, and thinking that they are looking up on him. And then we go down on the ground level where the consumers really are, and we realize that they are not that concerned about that produce, because they are surrounded by thousands of them and they all strive for their attention, and they may have something completely different on their minds. So our task as designers is to bring these two viewpoints as close together as possible, so that they can talk to each other. So that producers will understand what goes on in consumers' heads, and eventually will end up doing better products and services that talk to people. One of the tools that we use on a daily basis is the customer journey. This is how a real or potential customer interacts with a product or service, and if it's a small shop, then this is how producers and service providers see it happening. The customer comes in, she looks around, finds what she needs, picks it up, pays, and leaves. If it's a bit more complex business, then the journey is usually also a bit longer. Let's say it's a supermarket. She walks in and she has to pick a trolley, and she has to survive the music and the ads on the ear. There are a lot of aisles that she has to go through, and some of the stuff that she's looking for are missing, and then she has to stand in line, and then she leaves. Well, it's only part of the journey, only part of the truth. In reality, the journey starts way earlier. In that supermarket's case, this is what we call the empty fridge moment. The customer or consumer opens her fridge and realizes that it's empty, and then she plans her next move, whether she goes to a supermarket or a local market or a corner shop, whether she drives or she walks, which supermarket to pick. And the journey also continues after she has left the premises. She has to get home, she has to unpack it, she has to put that into her fridge and cupboards, She has to unpack the goods and consume them, and ends up having consumed them all, and again it's an empty fridge. So, like many other processes, this can be described as a circle, a never-ending circle. And let me introduce you to this charming little fellow we borrowed from Vikings. It's a dragon eating its own tail, and he has a name, Ouroboros. So whether it's a customer journey or it's a design process, in most cases it goes in circles. So more closer to today's topic of circular design, I did not invent that from scratch. A lot has been borrowed from people smarter than myself, and building on that and interpreting that. One of the major sources of inspiration has been Harry Mora of Stockholm Environment Institute. When I first met him about a decade ago, he gave me the first insight of how packaging works and what you have to consider to make a more sustainable package, and what is the packaging's role in the life of our planet. Since then, he has worked with different governments and big companies to help them build more sustainable ways, to build models that revolve around the central idea of avoiding raw material usage. So what can we do along the way of producing stuff, consuming it, and packing it so that we use as little new raw material as possible, or none at all. So think about what you are doing as your daily job. How sustainable is that? How sustainable is your packaging? About 5 minutes of Googling, going to the die line and looking what stares at you when you look for sustainable packaging is basically this: some brown paper. Well, I have nothing to say about La Durée, but I'm quite sure that brown paper on its own does not make a sustainable packaging. You have to dig way deeper to find out whether it really is environmentally friendly or not. And that's why we have been applying this circular model, circular design thinking to build more circular economy all across the board, across the different industries. This is one of the cases I can give a peek into. I unfortunately can't specifically mention the company. It's still work in progress, but in broad terms, this applies everywhere. So we as designers, we used our visualizing skills and gathering information, building this circular model, starting with sourcing, where the raw materials come from, how they reach the factory, what happens with them at the factory, how they are produced, how much energy and water is is used during that production, how is it warehoused, how they transport that to the destination, how is it packaged, have they is it plastic, is it paper, is it certified or not, what happens when it reaches the user's hands, how long can you use it, can they buy less, of all things. Companies are starting to think about that as well, that can they produce things that are not fast living, so that they have a longer life cycle, and you can pay more and get less. And what happens to that packaging and that product once you dispose of it, whether it can be reused, whether it can be upcycled, or at least recycled to re-enter the production cycle all over again. So mapping the steps first, then supplying that all with data. What are the actual actions behind every step on that circle? If you can get numbers, that would be beautiful, because with numbers you can prove that it's not just words, but there is real impact in what is done at that particular company. And we also use it as an internal tool for prioritizing that, where they are already in the green, where there is still a very long way to go, but at least they know what's on the table, what needs to be done, and where they are really need to invest more work and development. So that was like an internal mapping tool, but it also has to end up outside. It has to reach consumers, it has to reach business to business partners. If you are a huge manufacturer, your retailers, your major customers would not buy from you if you are not able to prove that your ways are sustainable. So really simplifying it, really making it visual, self-explanatory, going along with all the details if asked for, to inspire both industrial participants as well as consumers, so that they will know what they can do to change their ways, to reduce their footstep on this planet. So in case of industrial partners, the supply chain, are the raw materials sourced in a sustainable way? Are the workers treated well? Are they paid just amounts of money for what they're doing? Are they wasting their land while growing and harvesting material, or they know that it can be done in a way so that the land will be fruitful for decades to come? Then all the way to production. This is something that is really easy to measure. Yeah, how much energy is consumed at the factory, at the warehouse, and how much of it can be sourced or produced on the site. Transportation. Yeah, let's take Vilnius for example. Unfortunately, there is no Rail Baltica, so we have to rely on gas guzzling lorries mostly. But what again we can figure out is, what are the transportation radiuses? Is it at 250 kilometers sourcing, or is it within 500 kilometers when you sell your goods? If it doesn't fit into that circle, you better build another factory so that you will not waste resources on covering hundreds and thousands of kilometers to transport your goods across the globe. So this was kind of a short overview for the manufacturing side, and as said, you don't have to invent your model from the scratch. Look around, see what's going out there. Nobody's perfect nowadays, but there are benchmarks who are moving in the right direction along with us. Take H&M, for example. Yes, they are fast fashion, which is badly wasteful industry on its own. But at the same time, the company tries to minimize its impact on the planet, figuring out how to make their production model as circular as possible. 5 stages in their cases, but basically it's a very similar model to what I just presented to you. Another benchmark, Marks and Spencer, selling different goods, and being quite good at getting numbers, concrete numbers behind their actions, whether it's 90% of less carrier bags used in their department stores, or 100% of sustainable wood used in their furniture. It doesn't cover it all, but every number works as a source of inspiration for other departments, for other units, or for the competition as well. And of course for consumers. So how can you raise the awareness of consumers? What are the consequences of their actions? How can they participate into reducing their impact, or how can they use less material and still enjoy their lives? The classical comparison is, don't use plastic, use paper bags, but it's not that black and white. So this is where we designers can employ our thinking machines and our visualizing skills to say that in some cases plastic is better than paper, because it uses so much less material to produce a bag. If you reuse that bag, if a paper bag ends up in a landfill, then it's quite a terrible waste on its own. But it's all contextual. It's case by case, and in many cases, if you can get along without any packaging, that would be brilliant. Do you cringe every time when you see people at supermarkets putting bananas into plastic bags? I do. Banana has a perfect natural packaging around it, and putting it into a plastic bag is just so pointless waste of material. Having said that, packaging has its role. This is something that Harry Mora once told me, that packaging is not the only waste that we are producing. Rotting food that goes bad, is a humongous source of waste globally. And packaging in many cases, or in most cases, actually helps to reduce that, so that food stays fresher for long, and can be used, not thrown away. So where you use packaging, how you use it, and what's its impact has many different factors to play. So whatever you do in packaging, so figure out how to how to make it good. Plastic on its own, a plastic bottle, yeah, there are huge islands of plastic waste in the oceans. But what if it would be all gathered, if it would be all, if it all will all not end up in garbage bins, but it would be all recycled. Plastic in many cases is a much better material for upcycling or recycling, because it produces a similar quality level of material when reproduced, unlike let's say paper. So the returnable system that was introduced in Estonia around 15 years ago, and I believe is now active all across the Baltics, had an immense impact on environment. So people stopped throwing bottles away and started to return them so that they could be reused, recycled, and that reduced waste in a significant way. So sometimes changing people's behavior through these incentive programs has even a better impact than just figuring out how to make this package less. And most of all, you can figure out how to use stuff for longer. Yeah, this is a candy box from 1930s, and yeah, still in good use today. So if you can create something that will be good for decades, that will stay in your cupboards, where you can store some other stuff, use it as package over and over again, then you have done something really good. So back again to the circular model. Think about your role in it, your immediate role as package designers, but also as a broader view of how you can bring different participants together and help them understand how they can make this work better, so that we keep this planet greener for longer. I thank you all. It was my pleasure of introducing a bit of the stuff that really keeps me going around. Ačiū, thank you, aitäh, take care.